When this wealth arrives, keep it between you and God. When the promise finally manifests, when the door that has been sealed for years suddenly swings open, when the opportunities you prayed for begin to flow like a river, resist the urge to announce it, because some of God's gifts are meant to be guarded in quietness, not displayed through noise. Not every blessing is designed for public discussion. Some miracles are sacred. Some breakthroughs are so divine, so strategic, that even a single careless word can attract resistance from those who were never meant to witness what God is forming in you. When this money comes, when the abundance you've been sowing toward begins to bloom, you must learn the art of quiet walking, because silence is not secrecy. Silence is protection. Silence is growth. Silence is discernment. God pours favor upon those who understand when to speak and when to stay still. The mistake many people make is that they sabotage their own miracles by speaking too early. They announce a seed before it becomes a tree. They uncover a promise before it's rooted. And when the wrong eyes see it, jealousy awakens. Envy begins to whisper. Negative forces gather around what God was nurturing in private. When God grants you a financial breakthrough, it isn't an invitation to boast. It's a summons to steward. It's not a call to impress others with what you have. It's a test to see whether you can carry what you once prayed for. God doesn't only bless your hands, He examines your heart. And He wants to see, will you remain humble when the overflow begins? Will you stay grounded when favor becomes visible? Because many can survive lack, but few can survive success. Many stay faithful in struggle, yet lose discipline in abundance. God is not opposed to money. He opposes pride. He is not against prosperity. He resists forgetfulness. When this money comes, remember who sustained you. Remember the nights of tears, the silent prayers, the hunger that refined your soul. Remember how long the journey took to reach this moment, because money is more than currency. It is a mirror of the heart. It exposes your motives and reveals whether your faith was pure or just comfort seeking. When this increase arrives, tell no one, because certain blessings must be hidden until they mature. When God begins to elevate you, when doors of increase open, move quietly like a garden attending a sacred garden. You don't shout when a seed first sprouts. You water it quietly until it's strong enough to face the wind. There are seasons when silence isn't weakness, it's divine strategy. It's not about fear. It's about protecting what heaven has entrusted to you from the noise that drains purpose. When God begins multiplying your resources, remember the same people who were comfortable with your struggle might become uneasy with your success. It's not hatred, it's conviction. Your rise confronts their stagnation. Your blessing exposes their delay. That's why God commands you move in silence. He desires for you to build in quietness away from the noise of those who cannot comprehend the evolved version of you. Wealth is not merely a reward. It is a sacred responsibility. For God doesn't release it to everyone, because not all are equipped to bear the weight that accompanies it. There's a spiritual strength required to carry abundance without being consumed by it. Many pray for financial freedom, yet few possess the spiritual maturity necessary to sustain it, because money magnifies whatever already lives within your heart. If you are selfish, it will magnify your greed. If you are humble, it will magnify your generosity. If you are careless, it will magnify your recklessness. That's why when the money comes, you must not rush to announce it. Sit in silence and seek God's direction. Say, Lord, guide me on how to use this blessing so it expands your purpose, not my pride. Because divine wealth carries an assignment. It is meant to shift atmospheres, restore dignity, fund vision, and heal generations. And none of that can happen if your first reaction is to chase validation from those who once dismissed you. When the blessing appears, you must also discern timing. There's a difference between what is given and what is revealed. God may bless you now, but instruct you to keep it hidden for a season. Not every harvest is ready for display. Some fruits must ripen in silence. Some blessings must mature in stillness. If you reveal them too early, you invite unnecessary opposition. Remember, it's far easier to crush a seed than to cut down a tree. That's why God tells you to wait. Let your wealth establish deep roots before you reveal its branches. A time will come when God will want your success visible, not for your glory, but for His. Yet before that moment, He will test your ability to guard secrets. He will measure your discipline in silence. Can you manage the blessing privately without craving public proof? Can you stay grounded while others speculate? Can you keep building when people demand explanations? Because your silence will separate you from the ordinary. When the money comes, don't let excitement make you reckless. Many lose what God gave them because they moved too fast. They announced too early. They spent without vision. They invested without wisdom. They allowed emotions to lead what should have been guided by discernment. But divine prosperity isn't emotional. It's spiritual. It demands alignment, self-control, and prayer. Sit before God and let Him be your financial counselor. He knows where your resources belong. He knows who should benefit and who should not. He sees the traps that you cannot. And if you stay quiet and attentive, He will direct your steps. There is something holy about silence in success. It anchors you. It reminds you that everything you hold is borrowed breath. Temporary stewardship. You are not the owner. You are the vessel. God gives and He can remove. So stay humble. Walk softly with your blessing and let your gratitude remain private before it becomes public. Because when you learn to manage favor in secret, God can trust you with even greater abundance. When the wealth arrives, people will sense the difference before you utter a single word. They'll feel it in your energy. They'll notice it in your presence. The calm that surrounds you will speak louder than any announcement. You'll move differently, speak differently, think differently, not out of pride, but because you're now flowing from abundance instead of emptiness. God's favor carries a fragrance that cannot be concealed. Yet even then, resist the urge to speak about it. Keep walking with quiet discipline and let them wonder what transformed. God often conceals you in plain sight. He allows your success to unfold silently so that only those ordained to witness it will recognize it. That's divine protection. He prevents unworthy hands from touching what He's building in your life. He shelters you under spiritual covering until the right time. Some people are meant to witness your victory, but not your process. Some can applaud your result, but could never endure your preparation. That's why God conceals certain seasons to shield fragile blessings from the winds of envy and distraction. When the wealth comes, build what endures. Don't use it to prove anything. Use it to fulfill divine purpose. The world urges you to spend to be seen. God calls you to spend to be significant. There's a difference. The world wants display. God desires destiny. Every dollar you receive carries spiritual direction. It will either draw you closer to God or distance you from Him based on your intention. If you want your resources to remain, let them flow through you with divine wisdom. Give quietly, help privately, support others without seeking attention. The highest form of generosity is when the left hand doesn't know what the right hand gives. Because silent giving shields your blessing from pride, detaches your kindness from ego, and transforms your generosity into worship rather than performance. The money coming your way is not coincidence. It's a divine arrangement meant to restore what was lost, rebuild what was broken, and heal what was wounded. But you must guard it from noise. Each time you boast unnecessarily about your blessings, you open doors for interference. You attract energy that drains your focus. You invite eyes that envy. Silence becomes your armor. It preserves your peace and keeps your focus holy. And when this wealth begins to shift your life, never apologize for what God entrusted to you. Stay grounded yet confident. You're not taking what isn't yours. You're receiving what heaven assigned to your name. You prayed for this. You endured for this. You waited for this moment. But the reason you must remain discreet is because not everyone understands the story behind your success. They see the reward, but not the warfare. They see the fruit, but not the fasting, the tears, or the faith that held you through storms. When this money comes, tell no one, because silence will be your most powerful form of preservation. Silence will guard your peace. Silence will protect your purpose. There are divine moments when God responds to the prayers you whispered in the dark, and suddenly everything begins begins to shift. Doors open that were sealed for years. Favor will rise from places you never imagined, and abundance will pour out like a river that had been waiting behind unseen gates. That moment will feel overwhelming. You'll want to scream to tell the world the storm has finally passed. But listen carefully. That is not the time to speak. It is the time to listen. Because in your silence, God will release the instruction for the next dimension of your blessing. The biggest mistake people make is celebrating too loudly. They confuse manifestation with completion. They assume the blessing means the battle has ended, when in truth it has only shifted. When wealth enters your life, new tests are born. Tests of loyalty, tests of integrity, tests of discipline, and tests of heart. Before you were tested by scarcity, now you will be tested by overflow. Before your prayer was to receive, now your prayer must be to steward. And within that stewardship lies your destiny, because God doesn't just evaluate what He gives you. He evaluates what you keep sacred. There is something divine about discretion. There is strength in keeping certain things between you and heaven. When you speak too soon, you awaken spiritual attention that was never meant to notice your light. There are unseen forces, invisible ears that react to the energy flowing from your words. When you speak recklessly, you broadcast your location to the enemy. When you stay silent, you remain hidden beneath God's covering. So when this wealth arrives, let your gratitude remain private. Bow your head, retreat to your quiet space, and release your thanksgiving in whispers, not in noise. Because gratitude carries the most power when it's sincere, not when it's displayed. The world has trained people to expose everything, their happiness, their progress, their plans. But God works through those who understand the sanctity of secrecy. The quiet ones, the builders who create without applause, the souls who celebrate within while their lips stay still. Those are the ones untouched by envy. Never underestimate the power of jealousy. It doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it rises from loved ones, from those who dined with you in struggle, from those who prayed for your rise but cannot bear to see your elevation. Jealousy doesn't need hatred to harm. It only needs comparison to corrupt. That's why God commands silence. Not because people are evil, but because not everyone is spiritually mature enough to witness your success without distortion. When this money comes, your spirit must remain anchored. Don't let comfort weaken your devotion. Don't let prosperity dilute your hunger for God. Don't let ease silence your pursuit of His presence, because wealth without worship becomes wilderness. Many lose themselves in abundance because they stop seeking the giver and start bowing to the gift. You must never allow that. Every increase should pull you nearer to God, not distance you. Every elevation should remind you that the source remains unchanged. Only the channel shifts. God releases wealth not to inflate your pride, but to expand your purpose. He blesses you so you may become a vessel of provision, a conduit of divine generosity for others. But God will never entrust His resources to someone who craves attention more than assignment. That's why your silence becomes the signal that you are ready. It proves to heaven that you see the gift not as decoration, but as duty. It shows that you understand wealth is not a status symbol, it's a mission. When the blessing arrives, you'll notice something. The same world that once ignored you will suddenly begin to watch. People will inquire. They'll test your kindness. They'll study your movements. Some will mask curiosity as casual talk. They'll ask, how did you make it? Not to learn, but to calculate how close they can stand to your favor. This is when wisdom must rise in you like armor. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every smile deserves your trust. Not every handshake deserves agreement. Silence will shield you from traps that words might trigger. The silence God calls you to is not born of fear, but of divine strategy. Because when you move quietly, you give God permission to move boldly. You make room for supernatural alignment. You remain unpredictable in a world obsessed with exposure. You become untraceable to those who seek to drain your light. Silence is the purest form of self-mastery. And in the realm of spiritual warfare, mastery is might. When the wealth comes, use it to build structure, build systems that preserve your peace. Don't let money dictate your schedule. Let purpose direct your money. Remember this, money is not freedom. Discipline is freedom. You can hold millions and still be bound by anxiety if your spirit isn't anchored in God. But when your heart is disciplined and your soul is steady, even a modest income will feel abundant, because peace multiplies whatever you possess. Don't let your new prosperity become noise in your environment. True success moves quietly because it has nothing to prove. Let the excellence of your life speak. Let the way you treat people testify. Let your generosity speak, not through announcements, but through transformation in others' lives. God's wealthiest servants are never the loudest givers. They are the silent ones who sow in secret and trust Him to multiply. There's something royal about quiet abundance. When you learn to cradle blessings in stillness, you sync with heaven's rhythm. You become like the ocean, deep, vast, calm on the surface, yet powerful beneath. Shallow streams make noise. Deep waters stay still. When your riches are rooted in God, you won't need to prove a thing. They carry a spiritual magnetism that attracts opportunity without pursuit. Understand this: when God grants increase, He also requires discretion until your foundation is solid. You don't showcase a house before the roof is complete. You don't welcome guests into a construction zone. Likewise, when God is fortifying your financial base, keep the door closed, build quietly, let the walls rise in silence, and when it's finished, when it's stable, those appointed to witness it will see it. Even then you won't need to explain. A tree never announces its fruit. When this wealth comes, something inside you will shift. You'll begin to see possibilities where there once were walls. Your hands will hold creative power. Your words will carry divine authority, but with that power must come reverence. For money magnifies what already lives within the heart, and only a heart refined by God can carry prosperity without falling into pride. Pray daily, Lord, never give me more than my humility can sustain. That prayer will protect your spirit. Always remember, wealth is temporary, but wisdom is everlasting. The goal is not simply to become rich. It's to grow wise enough to remain blessed. Many rise to wealth but lose their peace, their families, their direction. Yet the one who walks closely with God, who remains humble and quiet, will taste wealth with serenity, abundance with purpose, and prosperity wrapped in peace. That is the highest form of divine success. When this money comes, do not forget the poor. Recall the days you had nothing, the moments you prayed for help that never came, the nights you counted coins with tears in your eyes. Let those memories keep your heart tender. Never allow success to make you blind to someone's struggle. The real test of prosperity is compassion. God blesses you to see if you can become an extension of His generosity. And as long as you keep that servant spirit alive, the river of provision will never run dry. When this money comes, tell no one, because true wealth is never loud. It is sacred. It's something carried in your spirit long before it appears in your hands. It's not the house, the car, or the brand that defines prosperity. It's the awareness that your relationship with God is the foundation of everything you own. When God chooses to elevate you financially, it's not to decorate your ego, but to display His wisdom. It's not to make you worship money, but to teach you the sacred duty that comes with abundance. That's why when this wealth arrives, you must protect it not only from others, but from yourself. Because sometimes the greatest enemy isn't external, it's internal. The most destructive voice against your blessing is your own pride. The moment you start thinking, I earned this, I built this, I made this happen, you begin drifting from the purpose behind the blessing. God doesn't bless you so you can glorify yourself. He blesses you so that through your stewardship, He can be glorified. That's why humility must rise at the same pace as your success. The higher you climb, the deeper you must bow in gratitude. When this money comes, know that God will observe not how loudly you celebrate, but how wisely you manage. Because in heaven's eyes, stewardship is a form of worship. When you organize your wealth with intention, when you give thoughtfully, when you spend with discipline, when you plan with divine insight, it declares, God, I honor what you've placed in my care. And when God witnesses that kind of reverence, he multiplies your resources beyond imagination. Many pray for abundance, but few prepare for the character it demands. Wealth without growth of the soul becomes corruption. That's why sometimes God delays the blessing, not to deny it, but to strengthen your capacity to sustain it. God desires to strengthen your spirit before he elevates your status, because when you rise, you will attract not only admiration, but opposition. Prosperity brings both light and shadow. Some will celebrate you for what you embody, while others will resent you for that same light. Yet if your foundation is rooted in God, you will remain unshaken. When this wealth arrives, learn to guard your environment with wisdom. Not everyone is worthy of access to your atmosphere. Some people drain your peace. Others speak kindly but release energy that contaminates your spirit. Protect your peace as though it were part of your fortune, because it is. You can lose money and regain it, but once peace is lost, everything else loses purpose. So when God promotes you, create sacred distance between your abundance and their noise. Master the divine art of quiet separation. It is not arrogance, it is awareness. Understand this. Wealth carries vibration. When increase comes, it alters the frequency of your life. It will attract new faces, new opportunities, and also new temptations. If you are not spiritually sharp, you may be drawn into spaces that appear golden but are hollow in purpose. That's why silence becomes your shield. Gives you the stillness to discern who belongs in your next chapter and who must remain behind. When God prospers you, it's not merely to bless you, but to teach you that generosity is a form of authority. Yet even your giving must be guided by wisdom. Don't give for recognition. Don't give for applause. Give because heaven instructs you to. Some gifts bless, others deplete. That's why you must ask, Lord, where should I sow? For not every soil is fertile. You can waste good seed on barren ground if you ignore divine direction. Before you give, invest or expand. Silence your soul and listen. The same God who gave you wealth will impart the wisdom to multiply it in alignment with his will. And when this money comes, resist the urge to prove anyone wrong. Do not use it to silence critics or impress those who ignored your pain. You owe them nothing. Your only debt is gratitude to the one who sustained you when no one else noticed. The world defines success by visibility. God defines it by obedience. What the world celebrates is luxury. Heaven calls stewardship. What the world glorifies as display, God calls distraction. When your blessing becomes visible, never forget the invisible battles that birthed it. The prayers, the patience, the tears, the perseverance, the nights you almost gave up. Gratitude keeps your heart tender, and only a